You'll own nothing and you'll like it. Who hasn't heard Claude the Swab say that, right? You know, I really don't believe that that is what is really being said there. I really don't. Because I haven't seen anything yet that is straightforward, okay? Nothing, not one thing is topical. They always tell you the truth, don't get me wrong, but how they phrase things and say things is not really the outcome of what they're speaking of. You'll own nothing and like it. Hardly anyone would go for that, okay? Especially people that have had, you know, property for a long time, maybe in a family, or someone left them a property and that's their home now. And let's face it, the only people that like to live in the city are the people that live in the city. And I've lived in some big cities a time or two for work. The last one was Honolulu. It's pretty decent sized. But most of the people in there don't like living in the city even. They are always trying to get out to the country. So, what I'm getting at is when he says you'll own nothing and you'll like it, the whole Great Reset. Now, I'm not saying they don't reset this place. Obviously, they have many times. This Great Reset, here come the interruptions again. I will carry on. The Great Reset is the resetting of people's minds, the reprogramming through this AI garbage. And I don't know about you all, but now my phone in the last couple of weeks, if I go to search for anything, I used to have an option that said, do you want to search through Google or look deeper with AI Assistant? And I have not downloaded this stuff. Keep that in mind. So what's going on is, in my opinion, the Great Reset is that people's minds are literally going to have to be reset. Because, you know, even I don't like using this word, but the dumbest of dumb, okay? You're not going to walk up to them and tell them they don't own their farm anymore, or whatever it may be. You'll have a problem. The only way to achieve this, in my opinion, this Great Reset, is through resetting their minds. And let's face the facts here, their minds are very much programmable. Just another brick in the wall. You know, when I say these things, it saddens me. It's not anything that I look at and really laugh at. It's very sad to watch this happening. Because the average person is not mean. The average person is just stupid. And pretty much by no fault of their own doings. You know, you got to keep in mind, if you were born into a junkyard, let's say all you ever saw in your entire life from birth until now was a junkyard, then even the trash and junk inside there would appear beautiful. So, I'm not saying the Lord's creation is that. I'm saying, you know, mentally born into a junkyard here. Emotionally, we are born into that. Most people are stripped of their emotions and mental capacities from birth. You know, especially the last generation here. Not that it is the last, but could be. I mean, a lot of us were very fortunate. And if you were poor, you were even more fortunate because you didn't grow up with a lot of the things that they had. You know, we had a TV, but you was lucky to get 1 or 2 channels on a black and white TV. And lived in the country, and since we were poor, you were very much preoccupied with basic survival a lot of times, especially in the winter or even in the summer when it was really hot. You had to find ways to stay cooled down, and just things like that. Now, that's not taking away from anyone that is awake now that didn't have to go through those things, but could you imagine being born into a system with cell phones of all things, which is a complete trap? They were born into a very large stronghold of traps. Computers. Now, I remember when those computers first came to school, and I didn't do a whole lot with them. But could you imagine if that was all you did in school, pretty much? Just stare at one of these screens all day, or have to type into things? It's sad. But back to this reset thing. Sorry, I got carried away there. I believe it's a total reset of the mind, and I don't want to relate this to every movie, but the movies are telling, and I am going to throw one thing out there. I've had a strange thing happen to me a few times, and if you remember the Men in Black movie, and I'm not one of those people that sits around and watches movies. The only reason I will watch one is to see what's in it. But do you remember when they got the little stick or flashlight looking thing out of their pocket, and they flashed it in front of someone, and they didn't realize anything anymore? Everything they had seen or felt was gone for that experience that was mind altering. They took them back to the future. Okay, in my opinion, that's what the Back of the Future thing is all about, is the actual erasing memories. Okay, but you're still in the present time, but you're going back, but you're still going forward. Back to the future. Okay. Excuse me. The smoke here is unbelievable. I'm going to try to take a video of that. It's definitely got people some headaches, nasal draining, burning eyes, cough. So where was I? Let me think now. Okay, the reprogramming, the flash of lights. Okay, I think, to be quite honest, okay, and I have no reason to exaggerate anything, there has been at least 3 or 4 times now since the COV19 came along that I have been out driving by myself. It seems like it's about once a year or every year and a half. Even in the bright sunlight driving, that all of a sudden, and you know what? I had someone with me one time on this, and they didn't notice it. This is what really makes me wonder. A really bright light, brighter than the sun, okay, flashed long enough. It must have been for like, I'm gonna say 1 to maybe 3 seconds. Not 1, okay, but just from 1 to that. long enough to recognize that it was actually a flash of something, and no one said anything. No one. It was that big of a deal, okay, for me. Now that's happened, I know, 3 or 4 times now. I believe that AI has been here the whole time, and I do believe they have the capabilities to flash these things to kind of erase or alter those minds out there that are erasable or resettable for their great reset. I don't believe they've completely reset people's minds yet. I believe they can in a flash. Now, not those of us that are walking after Christ. Okay, I don't believe that. The capabilities that they say they have, or we think they could have, I believe have been here for a couple thousand years minimum, probably a lot longer than that. Because how can you get away with some of the events that have happened, right? How can you do that? It's not just the brainwashing of the words and symbols and sigils and numbers. Something has happened, and I believe it's a light source that they can flash. I know this is out there, but I'm just putting out my my personal opinion and experience with some kind of strange light. It was much more bright and intense than a sun-filled sky looking directly at the sun with no clouds. It was much brighter than that. I don't really know how to even describe it. And the person that was with me at the time said nothing. This flash of light lasted longer than if you blink, okay? It wasn't like maybe they didn't see it because they blinked when it happened. It was that intense. I believe it was so intense that even if you had your eyes closed, you would have recognized that there was some kind of bright light. So, yeah, I think it's a reset, absolutely, but it's a reset of the mind that is going to happen. Now, I'm out driving and I'm going... Well, there they went. Somebody just passed me, and you would not believe how close they were to my bumper. Passed on a hill, double yellow line, you know, just ridiculous. Schoolyards coming up there. And I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that, haven't you? I've been driving long enough that I can tell the drivers now are absolutely dangerous people. Not once in a while like it used to be, somebody pass you and do something stupid. It's continually. I go the speed limit. I probably go a little less than the speed limit when I know there's no one behind me, because I'm not in a hurry to get somewhere. I've never really been that person. But the aggressive drivingness is beyond anything I've ever seen in the last couple, 3 years. I didn't realize this video would be this long. But keep that in mind. I know I say that word a lot, in mind, and that's a catchphrase too, but we still have to speak somehow, even though our language is riddled with garbage and spells. Total reset. I believe that is the mind. And I know there's some 15-minute cities here and there and this kind of stuff, and they have to put on the front for a lot of these things. So when old Claude Schwab says that, keep that in mind. You'll own nothing and you'll like it. Well, if they can do what I'm saying they can do, and clearly they're doing it now slowly, so what happens when they just flip the switch? You know, there's been a lot of events through this world that should have caused everyone that was a real person, not the pathetic leaders of the world, but the real people, to have been completely up in arms and should have reset their own affiliations and set different people into the governments. I mean, we have to at least admit that, right? All over this world, people get treated like trash and have forever. So it isn't just cowardness that people won't do it. There's something else going on, and I do believe it is because of that bright light. And I can't say this for a fact, but even growing up, I remember, not specific times, but that bright light that I spoke of, that I remember seeing momentarily, like something was being flashed over humanity over the last few years. When I was growing up, I remember that a few times. I just don't know when or where. So it's been something that's been going on, and I believe because they have to keep doing that. And they mock us in the movies, we all know that. So when he says, you Christians, get out, you'll never have to vote again. And of course that means some kind of monarchy or kings and stuff like that, but there's so much more going on. I am going to stop here. If you have any comments or questions, I really appreciate it. Iron sharpens iron. Each and every one of you have great wisdom in you that the Lord has given you. I hope that you share that, even if you think it's not important. I am very sure that it is. If the Lord has put something on your heart, be it something in this area, or especially spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, anything that the Lord has given you that would help sharpen others in those areas, please share that. Okay? Whatever you have in you, the Lord put it there, so it has to be very important, and we are here to sharpen one another. Thank you.